What happens when you die? It is something every human being will eventually experience, yet the answer still splits into two very different questions. What happens to the body? And does anything remain after the body stops working? Modern society usually treats death as a biological event. The heart stops, the brain shuts down, the systems keeping the body alive begin to fail. And yet, many people still believe that death is not the end. In a 2014 Telegraph poll, nearly 60% of respondents in the United Kingdom said they believed some part of us continues after death. A 2015 Pew Research survey found that 72% of American adults believed in heaven, while 54% believed in hell. In that view, a good life may lead to eternal reward. A bad one may lead somewhere far less welcoming. But belief cannot show us what physically happens when life ends. For that, we have to begin with the body. Doctors look at the activity of the heart and brain. When the heart stops, blood stops circulating through the body. When the brain no longer shows electrical activity, this is described as brain death. Machines may keep some bodily functions going for a little longer, but they cannot restore a brain that has stopped functioning. A stopped heart, however, does not always mean that every chance of recovery has disappeared. Some people have been revived after cardiac death. A few later reported that they were still aware of what was happening around them. Others described moving toward a bright light. This stage, when revival may still be possible, is known as clinical death. But the window is extremely short, usually only about 4 to 6 minutes. If revival does not happen during that brief period, the body moves into biological death. From that point forward, the changes are no longer about saving the person. They are about what happens when the body loses control of itself. The muscles begin to relax. That includes the muscles that normally keep the bladder and digestive system closed. Urine, waste, and trapped gas may escape. Death, apparently, does not always preserve dignity. But the body may also produce signs that look disturbingly alive. Air remaining inside can be pushed through the mouth, creating sounds that resemble groans. People who work around bodies have reported hearing noises that sound as though they came from someone still breathing. Muscles can also contract, causing a twitch or sudden movement. Neither reaction means the person has returned. The sound comes from escaping air. The movement comes from muscle contraction. They are physical reactions inside a body whose controlling systems have already stopped. At the same time, the blood is no longer circulating. Gravity pulls it toward the lowest parts of the body, where it begins to collect. This creates dark purple patches, known as livor mortis. These are among the earliest visible changes after death. The next changes develop over the following hours. Without circulation, the body can no longer maintain its temperature. It begins cooling until it approaches the temperature of its surroundings. This process is called algor mortis. Then the muscles begin to stiffen. Within roughly 2 to 6 hours, rigor mortis may begin. Calcium entering the muscle cells causes them to lock into place. But an even more important change is happening deeper inside. With no blood flowing, cells begin to break down. As the damage spreads, bacteria gain the opportunity to grow. This also explains one of the most common myths about dead bodies. Hair and fingernails may appear to keep growing after death. They do not. The skin is shrinking backward, exposing more of the hair and nails and making them look longer than before. As cells continue to fail and bacteria multiply, the body enters a much more destructive stage. Putrefaction begins. Bacteria and microorganisms start consuming the tissues. The process produces an extremely powerful smell, while the softer parts of the body gradually lose their structure. Eventually, soft tissue can liquefy. Bones, cartilage, and hair remain longer because they are more resistant than the tissues surrounding them. But the speed of decomposition depends heavily on where the body is and how it has been treated. Embalming and burial can slow the process. A body left above ground may become largely liquefied in about a month, while insects, maggots, and animals consume what remains. Underground, decomposition may take much longer. In some conditions, it may take around 8 to 12 years before little more than a skeleton remains. There is no single countdown that applies to every body. Conditions change the speed, but they do not change the final direction. Eventually, even the bones become part of the earth. That gives us a fairly clear answer about the body. It cools, it stiffens, its cells fail. Microorganisms dismantle its tissues, and what remains gradually returns to the environment. But that still leaves the question people care about most. What happens to awareness? The reports from people who were revived do not agree. Some describe a bright light or a feeling that they were still aware of the room around them. Others remember nothing remotely similar. One person described only black emptiness, no thoughts, no consciousness, and no experience at all. That account suggests a simple possibility. When the body ends, experience may end with it, but it is still only one person's account. It cannot prove that everyone experiences the same thing, just as stories about light cannot prove that consciousness survives. When personal experiences cannot settle the question, many people turn to religious traditions. In the Buddhist wheel of samsara, death is not necessarily an ending. It leads into another cycle of existence. The next life is not an exact replay of the one before it. It is a new life within a continuing cycle of reincarnation. According to this belief, the cycle can end through genuine enlightenment, leading to nirvana. Another tradition offers a very different destination. Instead of returning in another life, the soul may enter heaven. The familiar image places the dead before St. Peter at the pearly gates, where the actions of an entire lifetime are reviewed, which is slightly uncomfortable if the universe has kept records of every small mistake you hoped everyone had forgotten. These traditions describe very different outcomes. One says existence continues through repeated lives. The other says the soul leaves this world and enters a place of reward. But both depend on the same central idea. Something survives after the body stops working. There is also a third possibility. Maybe nothing does. The body may simply decompose and return its material to the earth. The soul may be an idea human beings created to protect themselves from the thought of cosmic insignificance and from the fear that life might end without a larger purpose. But that possibility cannot be proven here either. And that is where the question finally ends. We can describe what happens to the body in remarkable detail. We can follow it from the final heartbeat through cooling, stiffening, decomposition, and its eventual return to the earth. But the fate of consciousness remains unresolved. Reincarnation, heaven, and complete non-existence all offer possible answers. None of them can be confirmed. The body leaves evidence behind. Whatever happens to the person experiencing death does not. So, what do you believe happens when the body reaches its end?